The next speaker, I do know a bit about what she does because she works for us at the Cancer Council. About 6 or 7 years ago, we decided that we needed to do a bit more around practical support for patients. And one of the things we did was we asked the oncology social workers where were the gaps and what were the things that they really needed. And one of the things that came out very, very clearly was access to high quality legal advice, access to early superannuation, and also around financial planning and some of the issues around that. And so it was because of that that we started the service that Emma is now going to tell you about in detail. Emma is our Pro Bono Case Manager. She's got a Bachelor of International Studies, Juris Doctor from University of Sydney, and she's currently undertaking a graduate diploma in legal education. I don't know how she finds time to come to work, really. Emma has always had a strong interest in social justice, and now she uses her legal skills to assist cancer patients and their carers to access a full range of professional services that may otherwise be unavailable to them. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. I didn't know that intro was coming, so I'm just... Yes. As Jill said, I'm the Pro Bono Case Manager. Oh, whoops, wrong way. For the Cancer Council Pro Bono programs in New South Wales and ACT. And it's great to be along today to talk to you all because it could be a service that could help you or perhaps someone that you know get the help that they need. So today I'll just talk about what the Pro Bono, it's a mouthful, PBPs as we like to call it, what they are, the kinds of assistance you can receive. Just in the interest of time, I won't go through everything, but I'll focus in on a couple of those issues, and we can talk about the others later if you're around. So just to start, as Jill mentioned, the system started in 2010 after a scoping study discovered that there are a whole range of unmet legal and financial needs that people needed help with, people affected by cancer, and an absence of services to resolve them. So these were some of the questions that came up for people, and they might be familiar to you. So the Cancer Council set up the pro bono programs to fill the identified gaps. And after a 6-month trial in Armidale and Sydney, it expanded statewide, and it now includes a panel of professionals across the state, including regional areas, and over 4,000 clients have been assisted nationally so far. So what the pro bono programs are, they involve 4 services: a legal referral service, financial planning, workplace advisory, and small business advisory service. They all operate in the same way. Basically, professionals in the community volunteer their time to assist clients who can't afford to pay for advice, because as we all know, the cost of cancer is really high. So as these issues are coming up for people, they're unable to address them properly because they can't afford to. So that's really what this service is about. The Cancer Council provides a matching service, allocating clients to appropriate service providers. So our staff and volunteers don't actually provide advice to clients. We just put them in touch with people who can provide that advice. So broadly speaking, and sorry, there was a note on there about eligibility. I'll talk about that more at the end. Broadly speaking, what we can assist with are legal issues, which are listed here, and then financial planning, workplace and small business, as I mentioned. But under the heading of legal, we have planning ahead matters, so that's wills, powers of attorney, and enduring guardian documents. I'll talk about those a little bit because it comes up a lot for people that we're dealing with. Also matters relating to financial hardship. I'll talk about early access to super in a little bit of detail, and also organising hardship variations, because that's another thing that comes up a lot for people. Also unfair treatment matters, so employment, discrimination, some tenancy issues, dealing with government bodies like DOCS, and some immigration issues as well. So just to start with wills and powers of attorney, advanced care planning basically. More than half of Australians pass away without a will, And that can be really problematic just because it means that your estate might not be distributed in the way that you would have wanted. So if someone dies without a will, it's called dying intestate, and their estate will be distributed according to a legal formula, which is known as the intestacy rules. Try saying that 10 times fast. It's very difficult. So basically, it's a legal formula, and if you don't have a relative closer than a cousin, then your estate will go to the government. So, of course, that's not what a lot of people would want to happen. So we really recommend seeing a lawyer to organise a will and to make sure that your will is valid. A lot of people ask whether they should just use a newsagent will kit, and we recommend that you don't, just because issues of validity could come up. So on the screen you see what you need to have in a will, and these are just small things. For example, if you used a different pen, then that could mean that the will isn't valid. So that's why we recommend seeing a lawyer. And we're able to organise lawyers to visit hospitals or people in home if they're really unwell, and they can often get there with relatively short notice. We're not a crisis service, so we do our best, but within reason. So power of attorney documents. You can organise to make an enduring power of attorney. An attorney is someone that makes legal or financial decisions on your behalf should you not be able to if you're too unwell. And with an enduring guardian, that's for medical and lifestyle decisions, but the same sort of thing. So that comes up a lot for our clients. Also estate administration, so we help bereaved carers with the administration of an estate, but it will only be free if the estate is relatively small and simple. Moving on now to organising hardship variations. This comes up a lot as well for our clients, and there are two approaches that a planner or a lawyer will take when they're helping someone, depending on whether the hardship that they face is temporary or permanent. So I'll just focus on the temporary side of things today. Basically, if you're in temporary hardship and you have a personal loan, not a loan for personal use, so it could be a personal loan or a home loan, just basically not a business loan, you can take advantage of the National Credit Code, which is laws surrounding consumer credit and provides consumer protections. So one of those is that you can arrange to make a repayment variation on your loan if you're eligible, and there are certain criteria, one of which is that you're in temporary hardship. So it's roughly, if you can say within 6 to 12 months I will come out of that hardship. So for example, I will finish treatment, or I will be going back to work, or I'll receive a payout from my super insurance, something like that. Then you may be able to apply. And also I mentioned about it being a loan for personal use, and also the loan has to be under $500,000, and you have to be unable to pay because of some illness or reasonable cause, so that includes cancer. And as I said, you can ask for a reduction in repayments, or you can ask for a pause on repayments for a certain period. And the lender is required to consider by law your request fairly, so they must respond within writing within 21 days. Unfortunately, we hear of cases where people have gone to their bank and think that they're doing the right thing by being upfront and getting in there early and saying, I'm having trouble. And then the lender has said, well, sorry, you haven't had your loan for long enough, or we don't do that here, or just some other reason. And people, understandably, don't know that it's their right. So next thing they'll be in arrears, and actually that could have been avoided. So the bank has to consider your request, and we can get a lawyer or a financial planner to help you make a formal application to the bank or the lender. And in over 4,000 clients, we haven't had anyone come back and say that that's been unsuccessful. So it's a really good strategy for people facing temporary hardship financially. Another thing that, there we go. Whoops. Set out there. The next area is early access to super and attached insurance. That comes up a lot for people aged under 55. So you might be aware that with superannuation you can't access it unless you're over the age of 55. And even in between the ages of 55 and 65, there are certain rules about accessing your super. So for people that are under 55, we talk to them about the different grounds under which they might be able to apply for their super. And it's handy if people have had to stop work or suddenly facing a lot of financial difficulty. And although, of course, most people would want to hang on to their super and keep it there, not being used at times of crisis, it can be really beneficial. So there are compassionate grounds, and with those you would apply to, well, a planner can help you apply, or a lawyer, to Medicare, and then they apply to the fund. So that's for things like unpaid medical treatment or transport costs to medical treatment. If you're facing foreclosure on your home, with the second point there. Also, palliative care, burial and funeral costs. A bereaved carer, for example, could apply for access to their super under that ground. And finally, there are these last three grounds of severe financial hardship. So if you're on Centrelink for 26 continuous weeks, then you may be eligible under this ground, and if you can't meet immediate living costs. Permanent incapacity, so if you can't return to work or a job that you're reasonably qualified for, that ground might apply. Or there's the terminal illness ground, so if someone is likely to pass away within 12 months, as certified by two medical practitioners, so one specialist and probably a GP, then you may qualify under this ground, and that is tax-free. So that is something that comes up a lot for our clients. Another thing with superannuation, which we talk about a lot, is that there's often default cover attached to people's superannuation accounts, and they're not aware of that. So it's really important that people don't, if they have 5 different accounts, which I know I definitely do, and I'm not even sure which ones they are, but it's actually quite good to have that. In times like these, we recommend people don't roll over their super into one account or one fund, because they may lose out on insurance entitlements. So things like income protection, total and permanent disability, which matches up with the ground of TPD, early access to super, and also death cover. So that links up with the terminal illness ground of early access to super. So yeah, that's another thing that a lot of our clients find really useful, speaking to a professional and getting advice on what they should do with the super they have, because they may be entitled to income protection insurance, which can make a huge difference if you're unable to work for a certain period of time while you're undergoing treatment. I won't go into these topics too greatly, but our financial planners help with all of these sorts of things. Centrelink is a big one. Although it sounds simple to call Centrelink and make an application, I'm sure a lot of you know that it's not. It can be quite a trying process. So a lot of our financial planners, thankfully, are Centrelink experts and know their way around the rules. So that can be very beneficial. Working out how to structure your assets and income in such a way that you are entitled to certain benefits, or just to maximise the benefits that you're entitled to. So that is a big help for people. Also just general budgeting and looking at improving your cash flow, it all makes a difference. Also transitioning to retirement, so people from 55 to 65, looking at the different strategies that you can put in place if that's where you're up to. Next on the list is the Workplace Advisory Service. So this is a fairly recent program that we started because, as I said at the start, we have lawyers that can help with employment law issues, but a lot of people we found just wanted a bit of advice on how to deal with managing a cancer diagnosis in the workplace. So whether that's just talking to your employer about organising a flexible working arrangement or hours, or what you have to disclose to your fellow employees, just all of these kinds of issues that come up. So it might be discrimination, but a lot of people don't want to take legal action or be seen to be seeking legal advice. And this is just kind of a softer strategy, I guess, talking to an HR specialist about how to manage your cancer diagnosis in the workplace. We also have recruitment advisors, so this is for people that are returning to work. It's especially useful for young people that are returning to the workforce after a period off for treatment, how to explain a gap in your CV, also just interview techniques. If you haven't been to an interview in a while, it can be a pretty daunting experience, so just tips on how to handle that. The Small Business Advisory Service is also a relatively new service that we started because we were seeing a gap. A lot of our clients are small business owners, people that are, whether it's sort of a handyman or a hairdresser or, a website designer. We've had a few, and not only are you dealing with a cancer diagnosis and not being able to work, but you have a whole business that now you're struggling to run. So our financial planners, it was sort of moving out of their scope of work, and we found that accountants were really necessary. So we started this program. So accountants help people with business health checks, managing business debts, looking at how to wind up a business if that's what you want to do, or just getting advice on what you should do if you think you're not going to be able to work for a certain period of time. So we found that that's been really helpful for a lot of people. So on to eligibility. We do have a few criteria. Firstly, you have to be affected by cancer. So that could be that you are diagnosed with cancer, or you're a carer of someone with cancer, or you're a bereaved carer. And as I don't have it there, but it's up to 24 months after your loved one, partner, or whoever it might be has passed away. But that is a flexible sort of time period because we understand that not everyone deals with their issues at the same time, and also issues may arise at different times. That brings me on to the next point. It's that the issue that you're having must have some sort of nexus to cancer. So that is that it's arisen because of the cancer, or it's more difficult to resolve due to the cancer. And also not able to pay for advice and not already receiving assistance. In terms of our means test, I think that's on my next slide. We don't have a firm threshold, so it's flexible because we understand that people's circumstances are different, and just because, for example, someone earns $80,000 a year doesn't mean that they're not struggling at this particular time. For example, if they've got 2 young children, a partner that's off work looking after the children, and then they're about to stop working. So there are a whole range of factors that can get people into trouble, and we understand that. So we don't have a set figure that we talk about. Thank you. So we're not as strict as Legal Aid or Centrelink, so give us a call and we'll do our best to help. We really want to help people, not turn people away. So that's where we're coming from. To access the programs, often social workers or other health professionals make a referral. Otherwise, people can self-refer by calling our helpline. I've put in the new title, but everyone else has helpline. I was trying to be up to date. Cancer Information and Support on 13 11 20. And as I've got there, we've got a lot of people across, well, not just New South Wales, but also Australia. So we probably have someone in your area if you're from a regional area. So give us a call if you think that you might like to seek some help. And just as a recap, these are some of the questions that come up for people and hopefully we can help with. So if you have any questions, those are my details, but otherwise I'll be around later. Thanks. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Can I just make a comment on your job access? I was not entitled to Centrelink based on my husband's income. I thought with Centrelink at one to have a job facility assessment and was referred to a disability job agency. Even though I wasn't entitled to those benefits, I was able to access that service with the disability job agency, and that in turn I'm now back in the workforce. So it's just something to take note of if anyone's planning on returning to work.
Great. The lady was just saying that with job access, she's also had help returning to the workforce. I probably can't explain it as well as you did. Maybe if...
I'm not entitled to any Centrelink benefits because of my husband's income. So I fought and won to have a job capacity assessment with Centrelink based on the side effects of the brain tumour, and was then referred to a disability job agency, and with their help I'm now back in the workforce. Not working full time, but definitely working and loving it.